Now, to the issue of forgiveness, well, of course, sure, we all understand that human interaction sometimes brings conflict, and forgiveness reconciles it. But if, let's say you do me wrong, right? You step on my foot and hurt my toe. Well, Joe Schmo can't come along and say, hey, I'm going to apologize for that guy, right? That doesn't make any sense. The person who did it to you should be the one to apologize to you. Likewise, if that person hurt my toe and then runs into Joe Schmo can't take it upon himself to say, hey, you know what? I forgive you in the name of that guy. Well, what if I didn't forgive him? This is another issue that is quaint in argumentation. It makes for a good argument on the surface, but again, it's just not the way that we go about doing things. First of all, when I think back on all the people I've wronged in my life, well, some of them I'm sure I've forgotten. Others live in other countries. Others have passed away. And yeah, even others, there's some who maybe wouldn't forgive me even if I asked. So that's the state we're in, having wronged so many people and having absolutely no way to reconcile with them. So this introduces the idea that perhaps there's an ultimate reconciler. Another aspect of this is, well, one of the many things that I learned by becoming a dad. I mean, I learned so much theology just by the mere act of becoming a father that it's really amazing. I don't know if I learned so many things that I don't think I could have gotten any out of any fancy books, but I learned them just by becoming a dad. And here's one of them. Of course, people can apologize to me when they've wronged somebody else. And of course, I can forgive them for somebody else, even if they didn't take it upon themselves to do so. Any parent knows this. Well, how's that? Well, let me give you an example, okay? And I've seen this 100 times. Someone's walking along, and my little child, who is just bebopping around, is in the way, and the adult bumps into them, right? And inevitably, the adult will look for the parent and say, sorry. All right, you get the picture. They bumped into my child, but they look around at me and tell me that they're sorry. They're apologizing to me for something that was not done to me directly. And this only makes sense because they realize that I'm the authority figure. I'm the one who, at least at that ripe age of the child, I'm really the one cognizant enough of what's going on, of the ethics involved, that they appeal to me. And it only makes sense, and we can all understand that. Now, the ultimate authority over us is God. And in the same exact way, this is why I can think of all those people I've wronged throughout my life, who I've forgotten about, who have passed away, who maybe wouldn't even forgive me, and I can apologize to God for all of that. This is granting, of course, that if I have a chance to reconcile personally, I do so. But we're talking about these impossible situations. Well, nothing is impossible with God. And so it only makes sense that as their creator, as their father, as the authority over them, I can turn to God for this forgiveness. And that is why asking God for forgiveness offers that ultimate forgiveness, that transcendent forgiveness. And this is why if we do not do that, but rather we hold on to our sins, we choose them over God, We choose to spend eternity with our sins rather than with God. We choose to hold on to them, to treasure them. My precious. Right? We choose them, and that's why hell is eternal. Because when we choose sin, then our sin is eternal. Another aspect of this issue that might be of interest within the issue of comparative religion, and as you can probably hear, I'm driving around right now, but don't worry, I got my eyes on the road. I'm using a hands-free device that's clipped to my belt, so I don't even have to have a hand on it. So I don't have the citations with me, but I'll provide them in the information section below. And the point is that the Bible specifically states that hell was created for the devil and his angels. On the other hand, the Quran specifically states that hell was created for sinners. So you see, in the Bible, hell was specifically created for beings for whom the fact of God's existence was a non-issue. They didn't have to wonder about it, philosophize about it, seek evidence for it. They knew it 100%. And they knew God's character. And yet, they abused their own free will by rebelling against Him. And hell was created for them to provide them a place where they could get what really they ultimately wanted, which was to do away with God, to be away from God, to be liberated of Him. Whereas in the Quran, hell was created for human sinners to suffer. And I hope that these very basic points just shed some light on these issues. Why is hell eternal? How can somebody forgive me for something I've done to somebody else? How can I apologize to somebody for something I've done to somebody else? And the question of whether it's just for an eternal punishment for a finite crime or sin.